we're gonna stay in the world of technology with Brax Software. Khaled Azar is with Azar. Khaled Azar, right?
Yep.
Got it right. Yay! Brax Software. Khaled, thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
Tell us a little bit about Brax and what you folks do there.
Sure. So we're a marketing technology or marketing software. You might be familiar with the space that we work in. At the bottom of every article that you read on the internet, you see these other articles from around the web. And so those are actually ads at the bottom of a CNN article or even ESPN itself. And unlike search and social, which is dominated by one company each, right? Search Google, social Facebook, you have to work with up to 5 different companies to reach a large audience. So think about it as closer to like TV or radio syndication, right? And so we built a technology that allows you to build your campaigns and ads in one central location and distributes it in a more streamlined way.
Through other mechanisms besides Google and Facebook.
That's correct. So those companies are Outbrain, Taboola, and you'll probably start seeing them now that you kind of have heard of them at the bottom of the article. And besides kind of allowing you to manage your spend, we also bring in your engagement and revenue. So basically you get to see, okay, how much money did I spend? What did those people do, and did I actually generate any revenue from those people?
It's kind of interesting. There's a lot of technology today where you can spend money on marketing, and you really don't know the direct return you got from that particular effort.
Yep.
But on the internet, it's fairly cut and dried. I mean, you get to see how many people clicked and how many people bought, and you're bringing that technology and information and availability to companies other than Google and Facebook.
Right. Well, even in Google and Facebook, if you are spending money on those platforms, you then have to kind of do some sort of manual process or use a software to say, okay, now that I've spent this money, what did a person do, right? Because Google won't tell you what a person did. They have something called the conversion, right? The conversion can be anything from a sign up on an email or an app install. And so they do bring that in, but sometimes companies want to know more.
So if you Google something, if you search something, and in the first 3 or 4 that pop up, the answers, they say ad. They're the ads up there.
Yes.
So are you talking about somebody clicking on one of those ads, and that's what Google is tracking?
So let me be specific. What happens then is when you click that ad, Google will then tell you, hey, this is how much you paid, and this person now landed on your website. Google's job is done as Google as an ad as a platform.
So they don't track whether the person bought something on your website.
Because Google is a monster, they also do that as well with Google Analytics, a secondary software that they own.
Charge extra for
exactly. So it's actually 2 separate pieces of software that they both
own. I didn't know that.
They do. So one is called AdWords, where you spend your money, and Analytics is where you collect your data.
I never got. Did you get into that? I didn't realize that's
Google
2
Analytics.
separate. Okay.
So let's say you do, like you guys were previously talking about, you develop an app and or a website. You generally will install some sort of analytics platform that will kind of track what we call engagement. What is the person doing? Generally, revenue, the third part of what a website or app goal is, and they're not always that. Sometimes it is an internal app, but that is then some sort of third-party software. Or so, for example, Shopify, right? That's where you see how much money you made. So the goal is to go, all right, I spent money here. This is how the users interacted, and this is the money I made, and how do I bridge all those 3 together? Now, that's a general marketing dilemma. We do it very specifically in a small section of the market called content discovery, which are those ads at the bottom.
Those are what people typically know as clickbait, right?
That is.
Historically, that's what they've been.
Yep, I've done digital advertising for about 16 years, and I can sell sand to an Arab. That's pretty much my job. let the record show I am Arab, so that's all right. But so yeah.
Full disclosure.
Full disclosure. But so yeah, it is referred to as clickbait, and really that's because it's a newer form of marketing. If you knew search back in the day and social, it was a little bit more unregulated. And what happens as it matures, it starts to become more regulated.
So are these? And the things that what did you call them at the bottom of the page?
So a content recommendation.
Content recommendation.
Yeah.
So where would I see this? If I'm looking, if I log on to MSN and I see news up here and there's an article or something there, am I going to see, like, I saw something about Tom Cruise. It had a little picture of him there, and it said he's responsible for 2 deaths, and it didn't give his name or anything. But I clicked on it.
Celebrity extremism.
Yeah.
Right.
So is that the kind of thing you're talking about, where it was at the bottom of the page and it took me down a rabbit hole?
Yeah. So I think what I do want to not mistake is the technology versus the content that it holds. The technology that's showing you that ad is content discovery. The content that you're seeing is clickbait. What I mean by that is not all content is clickbait in that space. And I'll give you an example. Harry, like the Dollar Shave Club or Harry's, they run an ad or a piece of content that says, hey, this is why you should sign up for the box shaver instead of a normal one. And that's actually not clickbait. It's a legitimate ad. It's nice. Ancestry runs one, which it's a little bit more about, hey, I took a DNA test and I ended up being related to X. Now, we see a lot of clickbait because, unfortunately, society seems to love to click that. I know because over the last 4 years I've worked in the space, and I wrote an article about, let's say, 12 best places to hike. And that was very difficult to gain traction. But as soon as I wrote 12 celebrities you didn't know were broke, through the roof.
Those are the rabbit holes that can take my whole afternoon.
They can.
Bob goes down the hole.
I know, and I sit over there and I pretend I'm working, but I'm reading about the actors that went broke.
See, we knew it, didn't we?
So this is your platform and your medium. Do you guys actually help people create the right kind of content to attract people to click, or are you just saying this is the medium and we'll help you get your ad up there and you're on your own with the ad?
Sure. So there are a couple different pillars when it comes to content marketing as a whole, and one of them is creation. We don't do too much in that just yet. We do it more in the syndication, so more of how do I distribute it, and once I distribute it, how do I report on that distribution and act on it? So for example, if I'm showing up over 1,000 times on a website and nobody clicked my ad, more than likely that's not the website you should be targeting. So again, because Google owns the search engine that it's on, it's very easy for it to automatically just say, oh, I can tell this is a better place for you to show up. The second that you're dealing with the person who holds the inventory, and that's what in this space we call where the ad shows up, versus the technology, which is the company that has a relationship. So again, to be clear, a company will have a contract with ESPN saying we'll manage that space for you. Point is, once there's a separation, the ability to pull levers becomes a little bit more difficult. Now I'm showing up on thousands of websites, and I have to go website by website to see which one's working. And we have a piece of software that allows you to very quickly basically dig for gold.
That's your secret sauce?
That is, I mean, look, the fact is it's hard work, and what we are actually selling is time. We're saying, hey, look, we can make you do this in a more efficient way much faster.
So without Brax soft, we'll get to that in just a second. We got to go to a break. Brax is with us. The CEO, Khaled Azar, is here, and we're talking about clickbait and real ads and
digital marketing.
The 12 actors that are broke. The stuff I just get so involved with. You're listening to Biz Talk. I'm Bob Ryan.
I'm Montana Smith.
And I'm Aaron Canada.
And I really don't want to go down those rabbit holes anymore. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Yeah, we get associated with the clickbait a lot.
You're in a fun marketplace. I mean, this has got to be. I mean,
yeah, it's interesting.
I'm guessing when you get a client and they see the technology you have versus what they've been using, it must feel like a breath of fresh air for them to be able to get the analytics and the tools that give them the information you're talking about.
Definitely, I think any good business as a serial entrepreneur is a pain reliever. And so when they see it, we know we've done a good job when they go, oh, I have that pain too, and you're helping me resolve it.
Any good business is a pain reliever.
I can't take credit for that. That is Mr. Steve Blank, who teaches at Stanford, and he has a really good free course.
If he was at a good school, we could mention him.
Yeah. No, how to build a startup is a great free course that's every entrepreneur should take.
Steve Blank.
Sure. Gotcha. Got it.
Same thing
happens. You make this very palatable. You tell the story in a way that even I understand, and this stuff is like, different language to me.
Okay. I know there was one. Yeah.
Welcome back. You're listening to Biz Talk, Believing is Seeing Talk Radio. Today we're broadcasting from the ESET studios. ESET Internet Security, do more. Get a podcast of today's show and any of our previous shows. Now we're talking. Go to ESPN1700.com. I'm Montana Smith.
I'm Aaron Canada.
And I'm Bob Ryan. And speaking of clicking and bait and doing all kinds of cool things, we need your support. So I've talked to you, if you've listened to the show, about the fact that we need good ratings here, right? If we want to stay on the air, we need good ratings. One of the ways to help us with that is to download the podcast, but you got to do it within 24 hours. And from what I understand, Nielsen encodes that, so they know you downloaded it, but you got to leave it on for at least 5 minutes. So even if we're boring, let it run. Get us the Nielsen brownie points. What, is that enough begging? Can we move on?
I think
now?
so.
Okay.
Moving on.
Brax.
Yep.
Grow your audience. Khaled Azar is with us. Where did the name Brax come from? I want to get to the content here in just a second, but that's an interesting name.
It is. So I've named a lot of different companies, and I, as a technical person, tend to overcomplicate it. First name was
You
actually,
overthink things?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I tried to do something with engine in the name, right? So it was actually Engine I, and that was horrible because it shared like the I in the name, which confused it. Then it was like I Adley, which is like the letter I in Adley. Finally, my co-founder, Mr. Mark Simon, said, "Hey, we probably need something shorter, quicker," and we came up with Brax. The reason is nobody else had that association. Literally, if you said Brax to someone, they wouldn't think about anything else. And so we did what, again, everybody else does. We looked for the .com. It was taken. We found the Brax.io, which stands for input output, and that made sense for us, and that's how we registered it.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's an interesting story.
So is Brax.com just sitting there unused and you just didn't want to purchase it?
No,
or-
so it turns out Brax is a company, .com. It's a German clothing manufacturer, or like a store. So pretty difficult to get the association wrong, which we're happy with.
And nice if people do confuse you, they don't go to some horribly bad site and get confused with
You know,
that
I
stuff.
did Google it, and I think there was a sponge in the 70s called the Brax
No
sponge.
kidding.
Yeah, I think I saw that come up on Google Images, but I think that's it. Yeah.
So we're talking about the analytics that Brax provides. Maybe analytics is the wrong word, but the diagnostics,
The dashboard.
the
Think about it
dash.
as a
There we go.
dashboard.
Dashboard's
Yeah.
the right word for it, right? So before Brax, if somebody were marketing on the internet, they might have 3 or 4 or 5 different
Tabs,
pieces of
yep.
it to manage, and then pulling all that data together in some useful format was more than difficult. It was.
So that's what I did for the previous 4 years. I actually owned and operated 17 blogs. I'm sure you probably visited one of them. At our peak, we had 30 million unique U.S. visitors. To give you some context, I think CNN does about 17 million U.S. visitors a month. We did about 30 million across all 17.
Wow.
And so we did. We spent a lot of money. I spent about $22 million over 3 years in this space, and just realized it was very difficult. It was very power heavy and intensive, and decided to build a software instead. So whether you're building the ads and campaigns in multiple locations over and over, or you're pulling in data and using Excel to do HLOOKUP, VLOOKUP, all these complicated formulas, and then finally, once that data matches, you're kind of going through it row by row to take action, just took a lot of time.
You experienced the pain and nobody had the pill for it.
Nobody had the pill for it. So that's, again, I read a lot about just entrepreneurships and startups. That's my lifetime hobby. And so you'll find that solving your own pain is generally one of the best ways to start a business, hoping that other people have that same pain, because I've seen a lot of people solve their own pain and it's the only pain they have, like only that, and they go, I think
It's
everybody
unique
else
to
has
them,
this,
right?
Everybody else has this problem. We go, well, ask 10 people if they do or don't. And we did that actually. We gave it away for free initially. While we were running the other business, we wanted to validate, as they say, and make sure that this wasn't just an assumption, and people signed up and used it. And
what kinds of people are looking at this data? Because if you're in the industry and you were doing that much in the blog world, you probably had a fairly good understanding of the data you were looking at, and yet it was painful for you to look at. What are there normal everyday business people that maybe have a set of skills? Maybe they're a fashion designer or they're a construction company, and now they're trying to analyze data that's totally foreign to them? Or are the people that are looking at the data you're producing in the dashboard, are they generally technicians in that field?
so we are most attractive, or our value proposition sits nearest media buyers or ad traffickers, people who actually are building the campaigns and ads and looking at the data. So if you as a business owner haven't ever done that, you'll come to us and kind of go, I don't get what you do, right? I tell people it's like giving someone like Ferrari wheels on a Honda, right? It's kind of misrepresented. So for us, we have to do a little bit of educating, and we're a first mover in this space. If you're familiar with the term, you get what's called an education burden. You have to tell people a lot of what's going on.
What we used to call pioneers in an industry.
Exactly.
Right.
So we have to do a lot of that. We have to say, look, this is the pain that you should be having, and this is the value provided. They go, well, I don't have that pain.
Because they're not even doing the analysis.
So then what we do is, exactly, we push them into having that pain.
Got it.
We go, great, do this, do that, and then we'll become useful. So there's a lot of times where we say, look, you're not our customer right now.
Have you seen at Brax when somebody implements your dashboard and your technology that they actually increase the results significantly from having the data displayed the way?
Without a doubt.
Really?
Without a doubt.
What kinds of numbers would somebody be looking at? Can you give us some examples?
Yeah, so usually what we, and we're doing a better job of this now, what we usually see is about 30% lift in ROI. That's just
return on investment.
Correct.
Yeah.
The case study that
that's a big
after
number.
Your cost is taken into consideration.
So our cost is a flat SaaS fee. It is a representative of spend because we find that the best way to kind of grow with someone. But if you, so regardless of how much ROI you make, that's your ability to kind of pull levers. We will eventually layer automation over it or machine learning. Right now, the industry's too new to do that, believe it or not. But so you can see a lift.
When you get involved in a company, do you see the data in a way that allows you to even advise them on, say, which product line they should be marketing in what areas? I mean, do you get into that, or do you provide the data and let the analytics happen at the company that's using Brax?
So at this level right now, we do give them some attention, right? We say, hey, a lot of this, again, is consulting or educating. We say, look, this is, if I was you, and as an advertiser, this is what I would do. But we can only give advice, right? We can't give action, so we let them act on their own after the advice. So we definitely do some of that.
How long before this hits Wall Street and the New York marketing ad agencies and the big names there?
2 to 3 more years.
Really?
Yeah, because
so you're way ahead of the power curve.
We are. So we have to again, with any startup, you gotta have to know when to press the gas, because if you press it too soon, you'll blow through your money.
Yeah,
frankly.
you'll exhaust it.
Exactly, and if you're too late, you'll get eaten alive. So for us, we kind of wait patiently, and it's very common in a startup that the market will tell you what to do. So we kind of stand by that way.
So much information, so little time. We've got one more segment left. Brax is here. Grow your audience. Khaled Azar is with us. He is the CEO, and I think we've got some great information left to come, because maybe he's got some secrets on how we can market stuff for us.
Yeah,
who knows? You're listening to Biz Talk. I'm Bob Ryan.
I'm Montana Smith.
And I'm Aaron Kanata.
Don't you go anywhere. We're going to be right back, folks. This show's so funny.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, I stand by every principle you've listed off 100%.
Yeah?
Yeah.
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 I'm curious if we know a lot of similar people too, because of the space that you're in.
Maybe.
So.
I'm familiar with your app or your company.
Okay.
Yeah. We just got San Diego Venture Group Cool Companies, which was nice. That was pretty
Saw
cool.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
Okay.
nice.
I've been talking to Mike about coming on. He's
Yeah.
interested, but
I saw him today. I was actually with him and Morpheus Ventures doing the consulting. I was raising money. I'm not any longer. I tend to be contrarian, or I'm not a fan of venture capital. I think what it does is it gives people a lot of money to make bigger mistakes. I'm a bootstrap kind of guy. Like, hey, get the money that you have, even if you have to have a full-time job and do your website at night.
That's an interesting concept, because I've seen that just once or twice recently.
Bootstrap?
Yesterday.
Yesterday we had a guest on.
Holmes with Projexis was talking all about how it was friends and family and
Yep.
colleagues.
Friends and family is the way to do it. We raised about $2.5 million that way, but we did it in stages.
Yeah, but I
over
come from a
time.
family of hillbillies.
Yeah, so friends and family, if you're lucky.
So shoes are a big deal to them.
Yeah.
Your friends and family probably a little different.
Yeah, sounds
Yeah.
like it.
So our last segment.
It's funny you
My
were
dad
with
was a
Mike this
country
morning
preacher.
because
Yeah.
And I grew
our
up
guest
with that
on
shoes.
Tuesday came
And
in
we didn't
and I
have
said
indoor
the same thing
plumbing.
because but if you know
We
a
didn't
show,
even have a
Yeah, I do. I
phone
love
for
the
a
show.
long
She's
time.
yeah, he was
great.
on Tuesday,
So getting
and
money
he
from
said
them.
he
5
was
seconds,
with Mike
guys.
that
5
morning.
seconds.
So my
Five
I
seconds.
called Mike. I said, "Listen,
didn't
everybody
even know
says
what
you should
paper
be on our
money
show,
was.
so I'm calling to ask if you will."
No call for
Moonshine.
paper money in the holler.
Going
You
live.
did have moonshine.
Welcome back. You're listening to Biz Talk, Believing is Seeing Talk Radio. Tomorrow, our guest will be Daniel Altberg, co-founder of ZipDev, and Anthony Zhang, founder of Know Your VC. I'm Montana Smith.
I'm Aaron Kanata.
And I'm Bob Ryan. Brax is here, Grow Your Audience. The founder and CEO, Khaled Azar, is with us. Khaled Azar, right?
You can't get it wrong.
Can't get it wrong. Okay.
As long as you call me, I'm all right.
We're talking about your company that creates let me see if I can say this simply, a dashboard that allows people that are doing marketing on the internet to consolidate information that used to be distributed in multiple ways and difficult to calculate and analyze and come up with action plans.
Definitely, and I think it is important to note that not only do we combine the data, but we do optimize the workflow. And what that means is you can't just look at the data, you can also take action against it, right? So you'll get companies like Domo, who's a big data aggregator, who will let you just kind of look at dashboards. What's nice with us is once you look at the data, you can actually go in and adjust your budget, adjust your CPC, turn things on and off. So it is a management and optimization software.
Now you said you're a pioneer. What did you call it? Not pioneer, but you forward thinker?
First mover.
First mover.
Yeah.
So that's the early adapter, first mover,
Yep.
pioneer. Kind of you're ahead of the power curve right now.
Yep.
When you go and sit down with a company and show them what you can do for them, you said you have an educational process oftentimes because this is relatively new in the marketplace. Once somebody gets it, what's the aha like?
Well, believe it or not, most of the time the aha is, oh, this is not for me, right?
Really?
Yeah, because I'll give you an example. I've had someone reach out to me and say, hey, you presented well. I like the way you gave me the information. I was telling them a little bit about the company. They go, I want to spend in the space that you're spending. And I go, okay, let's kind of look at your whole marketing campaign. I go, are you spending on search advertising? They go, no. I go, are you spending on social? And they go, no. I go, well, content discovery is, I would say the third thing you should be spending on. If you haven't penetrated search and social first, it's rare that you should come into content advertising.
Just why is that?
Well, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, you go to search first. The first thing you do is either social, Facebook, or search.
So if I'm looking for something, like I'm looking for a new motorcycle and I
Yeah.
want this brand of motorcycle, I'm going to go search for that before I look for a content placement ad at the bottom of something.
Yeah, so actually, I would even put social and content discovery right next to each other.
Okay.
And I'll give you an
Because I
example.
wouldn't use social media to do that.
No, so what you do are creating awareness, and I'll give you an example.
Okay.
If you have something new, let's say synthetic grass. I mean, that's not new any longer, but for a while it was, and I used to work for a company that did that.
You're talking about the kind you walk on, not the kind you smoke.
Turf, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, either one nowadays. But so regardless, if you want to create awareness, or basically see more people searching for it, let's say
Right.
there's not a lot of people searching for it, you would use Facebook and/or content advertising to start awareness.
And the content advertising might be articles about
Exactly. This is
artificial
why, this
turf
is how you
or
can save water. This
Right.
is why turf is
Okay,
great.
got
and
it.
you'll find people go to Google and go synthetic grass, and then you'll come up. So really, what I do first is a market analysis, and I go say, let's kind of see how your marketing analysis, and then from there I kind of wedge us into their marketing plan.
You just mentioned a space that doesn't seem to be hugely crowded. I mean, artificial turf, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. What about spaces that are hugely crowded? I mean, I just mentioned motorcycles or electric vehicles or something on that order where it's super crowded. Can the content still drive business? I mean, can you create that content awareness well enough that it drives business?
100%. And again, I think what happens is a lot of people will mistake the mechanism for the content itself. Whether that content does a good job or not is really in your hands, right? We don't write the content.
So you
for
get people invited to the party, the content has to have a reason
Exactly.
to
We say, look, and we help with that. We can say, look, this is the way that I would write this content to be persuasive. We definitely don't promote people doing anything clickbaity, right? If anything, that actually harms us, right? Because we already have this.
You don't want to get that associated to what you're doing, right?
But it's fine for now for us. We don't. I mean, if that's what the space is, that's what it is. But that was actually, search was like that. If you, again, remember in 2001 or 2, you Google something, the ads up there weren't regulated. I mean, I remember typing in any keyword and having eBay bid on that keyword. I literally typed in like, dogs, and it was like, buy dogs on eBay. And I was like, how is that even possible?
Right.
So regulation just evolves naturally. But yeah, for us, we eventually do want to get into the creation of the content. Say, hey, we want to tell you that this piece of content should be changed like this so that it performs better.
You talked earlier about the article or the blog about the 12 best parks to go visit versus the 12 actors that you didn't know were broke, right? Both are content, both could be good, useful information. Well, maybe, I don't know. I think the parks might be a little bit more useful, but way more people are going to go read about the actors that we didn't know are broke, right? Do you call that clickbait then?
So clickbait is generally anything that leaves some sort of mystery in the title and then doesn't fulfill to your satisfaction in the article, right? Which is kind of vague, but that's what it is. Clickbait saying, well, you know.
Or the one where there's 52 pictures, you got to go to a new page every single time, right?
The reason they do that is the more pages you go through, the more ad money they make. Right. It's the same reason anybody shows commercials, right? They just that whenever you have a free piece of content or content in general, you make money two ways: by charging a premium like HBO and Netflix, or by producing advertising in between.
And so inevitably, the one that you're looking for is going to be the last one because they want you to go all the way through.
Exactly. Now, again, so there's a whole science behind that, and I'm actually very familiar with it because I've done ad sales as much as I've spent money. I've made money through ads. But you'll see that probably start to minimize over the next year or so, because we face we have something called similar banner blindness. Once you see something long enough, the body becomes aware of it, and you go, oh, you just ignore it.
It's kind of like decision fatigue, your concept that you keep bringing up.
Exactly. So
you get worn out from it.
Yeah, you just know that that's not something that I get it now. I know what it is, and I move past it. And you'll see more newer companies enter the space that I think will start to legitimize it even more.
But there is a way that even good content can be advertised that draws people to it with the hook, the headline, right?
There can be. There can be.
And that's how important is that part. Just an example, the woman that did the Buns of Steel years and years and years ago, she did the video and had it labeled something else. It never sold, never sold. All they did was change the name to Buns of Steel, and all of a sudden it just rocks the whole world, right?
Right. So I think to get an education on that, I would watch Mad Men, right? If you haven't seen that show. I mean, look, because advertising is psychological. So your ability to take a message and have it hit some sort of emotion is just, again, your ability to create content.
Part of what makes search and social so successful is because they have so much information, right? Google and Facebook have so much information. Can you be as targeted with these ads? Meaning, do you know who's seeing them, the demographic, the location, where they are, all of that information as well?
Yeah, so there is a segment in the market called data management providers, companies like Blue Kai, and basically there's this company that sits there and gets everybody's cookies or puts cookies on your computer and starts to categorize you or put you in buckets, and you can then link that with the ad that you're buying. You can say, hey, I only want to buy people who make this income or have visited these pages and things of that nature. So you can use data.
Just for fun, I like to screw with Google and search on baby dresses.
I would be careful, but your choice.
To see what kinds of ads you come up with, the little baby shoes and things like that.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to see how well they track. I mean, I did a search on a golf course, and I don't even golf. I just wanted to look at something on this golf. Now, for 6 months, I'm still getting ads for golf clubs.
Yeah, retargeting it can be dangerous. People have to be. I think for me, when someone's running retargeting, I let them know to put an end date on it.
That's a good point.
Yeah, just.
Brax.io is the website. Wow. Khaled Azar, thank you so much. What a great conversation. We've had a good show. Ian Blair's been here from buildfire.com. And Khaled Azar from Brax.io. You've been listening to Biz Talk. I'm Bob Ryan.
I'm Montana Smith.
And I'm Aaron Canada.
Have a great and prosperous day. Bye-bye, folks.
You need to get your picture, too.
It's a good show, guys.
Yeah, that was an easy
Seriously, fun show.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Let's do the souvenir picture.
You guys each ought to have your own shows. I'm not kidding. You're both really good.
Yeah,
Can we get, you want to get a publicity picture? Put your headset on and scoot around this way.
Should we say goodbye to Facebook?
Oh, bye-bye, Facebook.
Thanks for tuning in today.
Bye.
Thanks to all our viewers, too.